I want to talk a little bit about probably some of the perceptions that some of you have about the pivot industry, actually where it is as far as applicators, and some of the things that are really important now as to what we're up to. Back 70s and 80s, there's probably a number of you that had seen center pivots brought in. A lot of them looked much like what you're seeing in this picture here. High pressure, basically created a thunderstorm. A lot of water thrown everywhere. Not a lot of thought into how it went into the soil, how it approached different soil types, what the cropping was, how the existing farming technologies played a fact in that. And because of the heavy soils and the soil situations that we have here in the West, there were a lot of people that weren't too happy with how things were going. What's happened though since those 70s and 80s is if you look in other parts of the country and really what's happened, the manufacturers that are represented here and the equipment support people have developed a lot of low pressure sprinklers. We have rotators, spinners, sprays, LEPA nozzles. They've replaced the over-the-top sprinklers. There's still a home for some of those, but even those products now are running at much lower pressure. Where we were running 70–80% CUs at best 30 years ago, it's not unusual to see systems going out at 92–98%. If you saw the data that Dan showed earlier, that system had been in, I think it was third year or so, and it was a 93% CU, which is on an existing system that's been out there operating, is to us very impressive. The one thing to keep in mind though, and I see some pioneers and SSDI here. Really the subsurface drip group, and I was involved with that, and a lot of the guys here this morning were, we're really the first group that stepped up to what I say the row crop and the conservation tillage concept in applying drip irrigation systems and what's been going on there. And their efforts you see being realized out on the west side and other parts of the country now. Different than the high dollar vegetable crops. These are your more commercial bread and butter crops that really are the large acreages. They've done a tremendous job in pushing this concept forward of what to do with different soil types and how to address the soil types in conjunction with all the CT work that's being done. It brings it to the point of where the people in the mechanical overhead pivot market have looked at it, and over the last really 20 years have really stepped up their game. You look here, all of you that have been involved with any kind of soils, it's a typical soils chart. What type of soil do you have? Is it really silty? Is it really sandy? We all know, you have to farm all of that ground a little bit differently. What we've come up with and what the pivot industry and the sprinkler supplier to that industry have done is looked at the fact that, if you're dealing in really light soils, large droplets are fine. If I'm dealing with wind situations, you need to be able to drive through that a little bit. The heavier the soil, the tighter the soil, the smaller the droplets, the lower the impact intensity that you need to address. And because of that, there's been a tremendous amount of new products developed in the last number of years to address those issues. A lot of those, haven't been realized here in California because as you'll see as we move forward, the pivot market in California is less than 1% of the overall irrigated acreage. There's several million, there's 4.5 million, there's 9.5 million acres of irrigated, and it's a small component. But part of it is because this type of information really hasn't been disseminated as well because a lot of new innovation is taken forward. You look at instantaneous application rates. You look at how that addresses the soil when you're putting it on top of the soil and down on the crop. Much like you guys have looked at with the different type of tractoring systems you use now, your multiple, instead of multiple passes, you go a single pass doing multiple things. track systems versus tire systems. How many two-wheel drive tractors are out there now versus four-wheel drive versus track systems, when you're looking at impact on the soil, especially the heavier it gets, and what you're looking to do. Same thing with a boot versus a snowshoe. The old impact sprinkler that spread the water around, as you see in that donut, versus instantaneous, where you're applying water everywhere in the pattern on a lower intensity basis. Lower application intensity. It kind of gives you an idea of the droplet size of things that are going on. The manufacturers that do sprinklers today offer a wide variety of different droplet patterns, different sprays, different situations, all in the fact of lowering the application intensity, not disturbing the soil and causing you additional work and passes that you need to make. Again, another little comparison here. Lower application intensity versus a higher intensity of that's a poor picture of a flood irrigation, but basically sealing the soil over because the infiltration rate is too high. You're not able to do that. The pivots, the drip showed us that way. The pivots now, with the various types of sprinkler packages that are available, allow that to be taken into account, allow you to be able to specifically set up your irrigation system for the cropping pattern and the soil type that you have. Another little side showing, when you flood it or you just over apply it, you break down that soil structure. You move the soil structure into a non-desirable way for raising your crop. You're having to come back and then till again. That's why we feel we fit real well with what conservation tillage practices are. That you come in and you work very hard at leaving the soil in a very friable, workable condition. And then, the old traditional systems come in and then ruin that, and you've got to go back and rework it again. We feel that, that doesn't happen anymore with this. Lower application rates, matching the application rate to the soil. Again, you're dealing with a healthier soil, a more friendly environmental way, less trips, less everything. Another important aspect of this, as the overhead market has advanced, and we've gone to lower pressure, we've gone to more precise application of products, we've had to go with pressure regulation. Pressure regulation is a very important part. Every head needs a regulator. You have changes in flow. You may change your nozzle sizes depending on the type of season for germination and for growing. End guns come on and come off. Take advantage of the low pressure. We have systems that run as low as 6 psi at the head nowadays. You get longer component life. You're not overstressing things. You're running that sprinkler in its sweet spot. Where it's designed to be ran and give you the biggest benefit, you set up that system like that. It's, again, very important. And another critical thing, and this is where your dealer network and your support people that supply these products for you come into play. The lower the pressure you go, whether it be a drip system or a mechanical system, your percentage of variability really goes up. Running the system at 6 psi and changing at 1 psi is a heck of a lot more important than if you're running 60 psi and change at 1 psi. Keep all those things in mind. Here's some of the products. These are a variety of the types of heads that are available out there. You're going to see a lot of the things look kind of the same, but you'll notice different plates, different types of products. They're designed for different soil and cropping situations. Depending on your rotation, you may not be using the exact same product that your neighbor's using because you don't have the same rotation that neighbor has. You need to keep those things in mind. There's basically two of us in the business now that supply a lot of these low pressure. Nelson, you just saw, I'm with Senniger. This is another range. We both offer a wide variety of these different products. They run at lower pressures. They give different application intensities depending on your soil type, what you're particularly looking for. The products are out there, guys. It's not like it was 30 years ago when you were very limited on what's available. Another thing where we're looking at is LEPA technology. If some of you have traveled around the country, this is a technology that's 15 plus years old now, but again, 6 to 10 psi. You get the water right on the ground. You limit where you put it. You can kind of read through there, but your discharge water is right where it needs. You don't get the wind distortion. You don't get a lot of the variability that you get with other factors that come into play. It fits. It's a cropping pattern that fits really well with CT also. And part of that is, with GPS technology nowadays, it's very easy to run your rows with a pivot. So you're running right down the row with this. Your friability of your soil, your middles don't get hard. CT, crop residue, as Dan was saying earlier, we know that we can maintain more moisture in the soil if we're putting it right where we need it. This is another way to economize on that water. You don't put as much water on, yet you gain more water back in the whole situation. And again, these situations run at very low pressure. Kind of to wrap up, again, and look at what I'm seeing for Cassie and what I think us as an industry are looking at, we need to continue to be good stewards of the valley water, more with less. These are ways that we feel have been tried and true, proven, and we're able to move forward with that and with the information, and there's a dealer support network and all that is in place. Land and water resources continue to increase in price. We've got to be able to manage that. The more you can manage, the tighter you can manage those situations, the better and more profitable you're going to be. Government regulations. There's a lot of impacts, especially in California, probably as much so as anywhere. Everybody wants that water. Everybody wants your soil. Everybody wants you to quit storing the dirt as much. There's a lot of things that come into play, and we feel that all of these are going to be able to help you. And then, accepting the current technologies, combining that, and some of the things Harold's talked about with telemetry and where we can move forward, being able to do more with less, and really raise a better crop and have a more friendly environment for everything else.
Additional information about these innovative conservation agriculture systems is available on the Conservation Agriculture Systems Innovation website.